Good afternoon. I'm standing with Baltimore County Director of Economic and Workforce Development regarding the closure of the GM White Marsh plant that was announced today. Let me begin by reiterating a statement that we issued a few moments ago. Baltimore County stands with the workers and their families who are part of a decades-long GM manufacturing legacy in Baltimore, from advanced hybrid motors in White Marsh to vehicle production at Broning Highway. Our workers are second to none. The county's workforce development team is available immediately to assist with job and career counseling services for the 300 GM workers whose jobs will be affected next year. The East Point Career Center will help match GM workers with other employers looking for their skills in advanced manufacturing and connect them to training and job search workshops. This is a challenging day, and at its core, this is truly a story about families. This is a story where 300 folks went to work today, the beginning of the holiday season, and they come home this evening faced with the very real reality that they no longer have jobs. But what we stand committed to doing, and Mr. Anderson and I have been talking this morning, we've been in contact. I know he's been reaching out already to GM and to the unions, that we stand committed to doing everything that we can to reconnect these folks. And I want to state again, these are highly skilled employees. These are advanced manufacturing workers that we believe will be in high demand. And we will do everything we can to connect them with those jobs that we believe will be available to them. So at this point in time, which is very uncertain and very unsettling for those families, and we understand that and we stand with them and we're empathetic about that. At that same time, we say we're going to work with you and we will get you, if it's your desire, reemployed. I would remind everyone that in Baltimore County we have a history of being able to do this. Just a few minutes ago, Will Anderson and I were discussing what happened in southwestern Baltimore County when Calvert Distillery closed its shop and people ended up without jobs. And we really took a two-pronged approach to that situation. We worked immediately with the workers at Calvert to try to help them get reemployed in the short term, and then we went to work trying to repurpose that Calvert Distillery. And as you know, it now houses the only Guinness brewery in the entire nation. It's been averaging about 10,000 visitors a month. It's an incredibly successful endeavor. And we're going to take that same approach here in White Marsh. We're going to work with the employers and the employees, who lost their jobs today. And at the same time, we're going to be looking at this state-of-the-art facility to see if we can't attract another employer to White Marsh. And I am confident that our team in economic development and workforce development, working with the Oshevsky administration, will make this a priority from this day going forward. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Did you find out about this today?
We did. You want to give a specific? You want to step up and give a specific timeline as to when you were notified?
Sure. General Motors alerted the county executive earlier this morning, then called us. We contacted our colleagues at the state, Department of Labor, and at Commerce to make sure we were all aligned.
Have you gotten confirmation that it's closed for good, or is it idled? What did GM say exactly?
When I spoke to their representative 90 minutes or so ago, they did not use the term closed. They talked about this in terms of these 300 employees. They talked about the fact that it was, for them, a realignment of their assets, and that they would make those evaluations at a later point in time. So they did not speak to the future of the plant. They spoke to the future of these employees in the near term after the first of the year.
That's a lot of corporate jargon. Would you press them on what exactly that meant?
Yeah, I think I did, and the folks in the room, I think, would tell you that I did indeed press them on what that meant. Cutting through that jargon, the bottom line for me is 300 folks don't have jobs. And you can try to dress it up however you want. The bottom line is GM's walking away from manufacturing in Baltimore County. I'm not happy with that. I'm disappointed in GM. And, you know, it's not the way, from my perspective, it's not the way things were supposed to work out, given the tax cuts and the policies that we're seeing out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I thought we were supposed to have jobs, and when we introduced tariffs, it was supposed to increase jobs. And as I say, it may have been a while since I was in Econ 101, but I remember that trade wars aren't good. Now, whether this is directly related to that, I don't know, but to say that I'm disappointed in GM would be an understatement.
Do you know how long they've been in White Marsh? How many years has it been?
I think they began around 2000.
Yeah, they've been there a couple
Yeah,
decades.
it's been almost 20 years now that they've been there. I remember when I talk about an advanced, Melody, you may have been on the tour, as a matter of fact, but we toured it at that time, and my recollection, I was just saying to the team, I remember being able to eat off the floor. It's not your mom and pop's manufacturing plant. It was spotless. And when we say the plant is a high-tech, forward-looking plant that I think will be very appealing to a future employer. Also, I want to reiterate that these employees are high skilled. These are folks with a tremendous amount of skill, and in the current labor market, I think will be very, very much in demand. And I'm confident that Mr. Anderson's shop will be able to locate them, or doing everything they can to get them back employed as soon as possible. But to your question, I don't want in any way to sugarcoat this. Disappointed in GM. I think they're walking away from working men and women in Baltimore County, and that is not a good thing.
Will, can you talk about the county incentives that were given to GM at the plant, how much they totaled, and has the shelf life run out on that? Will they have to pay the county back for transportation?
Yeah,
infrastructure?
we were talking about that as a sidelight to dealing with today's issue. It's been a couple decades since the state and the county did part of a deal to help bring GM and expand their plant. They met their obligations. All of those obligations were met years ago, but we've enjoyed the benefit for, since county executive said, since 2000 with the jobs that did come.
Who owns that particular property? And is there any concern that while GM's trying to make up its mind between the difference between a closure and an idle, that property could just sit there and be unused? It is a high-tech facility.
Yeah, I think that's a question I would have to defer to GM. It's my understanding. I think they own the facility. Yeah. They own the business that is there. In terms of their future plans for that site, I do hope that you will follow up and get some clarity from them on that.
Now, since that plant was built, that area has really blown up a lot. Do you expect that to affect a lot of the businesses that have come since that plant?
No, as I said, my expectation is that we will be successful in finding this workforce who wants to continue to work jobs. I recognize that some may be in a position that at this point in time they may be able to retire. But for those who want to continue to work and be productive, I'm really confident that we will be able to do that. That area is going to continue to boom. We have a number of major projects there right now. Many of you know, many of you covered out in the Middle River area, as well as you work your way around through that whole area. You know, we've got Greenlee there. We've got Stanley Black and Decker. So we expect, everybody knows what's happening at Trade Point. We expect this segment of the Baltimore County economy to continue to grow. But this is a setback. There's no doubt about it. And as I said, it's particularly a setback to those families who woke up this morning thinking they had jobs and they come home and they don't. That's when it becomes very personal.
The 300 folks being laid off, is that all of the employees at this plant in White Marsh?
That's my understanding when I spoke with them about an hour ago.
And they'll have jobs until April, or are they being laid off before that?
Do you know?
GM says it all becomes effective in April, so they're starting to work with all 300 employees now, and that's the date that they'll discontinue.
And then, so what can the county office do to help these people get
Step back
jobs?
up.
You know, what does that work look like?
Yeah, unfortunately, we've been here before, not just at Bethlehem Steel, RG Steel when they went bankrupt in 2012, but there's other companies that have closed their doors. And what typically happens, and what we prefer to have happen, is that our team immediately start working with the company. We have an outplacement service where we bring several specialists in who immediately start working with the employees. Both General Motors and UAW have their own process that they're working through right now, and then our folks come in right behind them to make sure that there's no gap while people are trying to look for new jobs or maybe retool and reskill for future jobs. So we've already put that team together earlier this morning. We're already working with our colleagues at the state who has a dislocation service as well.
So what does that team do? Is it connecting folks to job openings? Is it training programs? Is it?
Yep,
what does that look
it's
like?
those services are all of the above. In some cases, we've had one company that's closing, and we happen to know 3 or 4 other companies that have those exact skills, and we hook them one for one. In some cases, it's working with individual counseling to find out what people want to do. I know GM offered a lot of early retirement that many people are taking across the country. I'm not sure how that plays out here in White Marsh, but we work one-on-one with each person to find out what kind of services they need, and then many of those are going to be delivered at our job centers. We have 3 of them across the county. East Point will be probably our central point here for a project in White Marsh.
What is the demand like for employees with the skill set that those losing jobs have?
Well, as county executive said, this is a highly skilled, advanced manufacturing, technical, assembly, electrical that are inside that building. We're getting this news an hour ago. We haven't gone through and done an assessment to where we can map them, but that's underway right now back in our department.
And how many folks work in your department to handle that counseling work and that connection?
Overall, Economic and Workforce Development has about 52 people. Workforce has 40, and we have 3 people that are already being deployed on just this outplacement.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
Can you
Thanks.
say your name and title for the record again?
Sure. Don Mohler. Oh, I'm sorry. Don Mohler, County Executive. Will Anderson.
Will Anderson, Director of Economic and Workforce Development.
Okay, thank you.
Clerk.
You said you had talked to Johnny O about this, because this is really, coming on his watch next week.
I have not. We have missed each other. I'm going to talk to him in a few minutes, but knowing the incoming county executive and his focus on jobs and his focus on getting things done, I am confident this will be one of the first things on his plate.
And have you heard from Councilman Marks or Councilman Banks?
I have not. I've reached out to both, and I'm sure we'll connect before the end of the day.
All right, you get a rest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.